All right, so we're going to start the next part of these life science trend video tutorial. This part's going to be about the financing analysis. So we're looking at our shared drive here. We're going to go into life sciences trend data. We're going to go back into second quarter 2015. We're going to go into um, first. We're going to pull up our raw data. So as we did before, we for the chemicals, we have SDC data, which let me just see. SDC gives us the raw transaction data for financing. So we're going to pull it up. And so we've pulled up our the SDC data for financing, and as you'll see here, there are many transactions, and this is where you'll go through and analyze each of these transactions and see if they fit Young and Partners criteria for a pharma company, medical device company, or biotechnology company. So what I like to do is I'm going back to the financing folder here, and I'm pulling up Life Sciences Financing 2Q 2015 consolidated. So if you pull this up, you'll see there's actually only one tab in this that says consolidated, but and this is kind of the final product. This is where we want to get to for the managing directors to review our list of financing transactions. And so here you'll see I've labeled it equity, and below uh, and here you'll see debt. There we go. Um, what you can do is you can take your raw SDC data here, um, create a copy of this exact file. This is again the Life Sciences Financing 2Q consolidated file. Copy this, use this template, and put the raw SDC data in there. Match the corresponding columns. It's pretty straightforward. Issuer with issuer, business description, nation, and nation. And you're going to go through, do your analysis, identify these companies as biotech, pharma, or medical device companies, identify whether they are equity or debt financing transactions, and then eliminate companies that don't fit within. So here we have X medical imaging or X life science tools, and you will learn how to what falls within our criteria and what doesn't. Um, I should note here that on the chemical side we have different raw data. We have different data for equity, different data for debt, and in the life sciences side, it kind of comes all together, and in equity and debt are together. Um, so once you've organized all this data, separate out your equity transactions by labeling them. And how you can sort this, make it easy for yourself, is make sure you label each of these as E or D, so equity or debt. So then when you can use the sort function in Excel and group all your equity transactions together, even the ones that are marked for deletion, and mark your debt transactions together um, appropriately. And that way this will be ready for one of the managing directors to check your list of transactions. After you've consolidated all your transactions, group them into equity and debt, you are going to then, so what you've done here is you've analyzed the deals, the financing deals for this quarter, or for the quarter you are working on, and you've grouped them together. You've gotten approval from the managing directors for the transactions and how you've labeled them. You're going to then go to the total file, or the all-time file as I call it, which is labeled as Life Sciences Financing 2Q 2015. The key is it says Life Sciences Financing as opposed to Life Sciences Financing Consolidated. So when we pull this up, Life Sciences Financing, you will see many transactions here, and this captures all the relevant transactions over many years. And what you're going to do is you're going to create a set of new rows here, the relevant amount for the quarter. Say there's 50 transactions, you would put 50 rows in here, and in the life sciences financing section, we don't separate the debt and the equity financing transactions aren't separate. They go together, but they're labeled slightly differently. So you'll see equity, it says T here, and for debt it'll have an F, and we'll go through that. But you're going to paste in your transactions from this quarter, from this page, take all of them, and or at least all of the relevant ones, not the ones you marked for deletion, the ones that you marked as okay, and you're going to paste them in. You're going to paste the relevant data to each corresponding column, and you want to make sure you fill out all of these different columns. So for example, you're going to type in issuer location. So this is, for example, a European company. So the issuer is in Europe, E, and the market. This equity was offered in the European public markets. So market location we label as E. The year 2015. Market type public, since this was a public offering, but there will also be private offerings. So pay attention to that. The security type, business description, and here you'll have your Rule 144A, high yield, the principal amount, the IPO, whether it was an IPO transaction or not, and make sure all of these are filled out. Follow the format and the template that is already here. That is the easiest way to make sure that you are doing this correctly. If you scroll to the right of the data, you will see all these what may seem as funny looking numbers, a lot of zeros here and some random numbers. The numbers are in fact not random. You're going to make sure you copy these formulas from here, and the labeling is pharma equity, biotech equity, device equity, and this starts in column W and goes out to column AZ. You're going to want to copy the formulas that are in those cells for all of the new transactions you have just pasted in. And what this does is these formulas pull each of the relevant transactions into an appropriate column. So biotech equity, it pulls this transaction here because it was a biotech equity transactions, but it says 0 for device and pharma, and that's exactly right because it's not a pharma transaction or a device transaction, it's a biotech one. And here debt, this wasn't a debt transaction, so it's all zeros, and so on and so forth. So if we scroll down to the bottom of this, so if you scroll to the very bottom here, after you get through all the historic numbers, you'll see kind of these sums. So this is where you make sure you want to check these formulas and make sure they capture all of the new data you have just entered. and make sure these sums are correct. And so this, for example, let's just check one of these out. Pharma equity for year to date. So this would be through 2Q 2015. Check the formula. It says W2 to W232. There have been a lot of transactions in the life sciences, so it makes sense there's that many rows. So we're going to look up top, and you'll see a blue box. Make sure this blue box captures all the relevant data. Once you find that it does, you can come back down and make sure the same is true for every column here for the most recent quarter. Make sure all the correct data is being captured and the formulas are adding correctly. And so below, you will notice a number of charts. So these charts, each of them capture different things. For example, you'll have equity issuance for equity issuance, or the number of debt issuance, public issuance versus private issuance, the number of issuances. That's why you have so many different columns up here. You know, pharma equity, biotech equity, pharma equity U as in United States pharma companies, public debt, private debt, biotech debt, device debt, and so there's many charts down here. So I'm not going to go through every single chart because it all works the same. The most important thing in this section is that you have entered the data correctly, and the formulas are working properly, and they are capturing the appropriate set of data. If you ensure that, then the charting portion is quite simple. So let's just look at this one. Let's look at this chart here. It says equity issued. We're going to click on it. Let's see where this captures. I'm going to click on the most recent bar, and we see here this is capturing the biotech equity issuance in dollars for the year to date, and well, historically as well, but we're interested in year to date right now. And so you see that it captures the right data, so you can be sure that this chart is accurate. You're going to repeat this process for each of the charts, and you can tell which charts you're going to need. If I remember correctly, all of these charts are relevant, but you can also double check if you missed any of them or whatever against the presentation. The presentation will show you exactly which charts you need. But repeat this process for each of the charts. So I'm gonna show one more. Let's look at one of these. What's an interesting one? Let's see. Here we have a number of issuances. This is comparing different countries. So let's see. So 24. So I clicked on this bar here. I'm going to see where it links up to. Okay. So we see this is a chart that compares pharma equity issuance by nation or by continent. So this is comparing United States against Europe, against Asia and the rest of the world. And so here we see 24 for pharma US and 17 for pharma Europe, and we see 0 and 0 for Asia and other. So let's look at the chart. The chart shows only two colors, and blue corresponds to US and red for Europe, and so we don't see anything for Asia and the rest of the world. So we know that this is the chart is accurately captures the data. So we're good to go there. And so you're going to repeat this process for all of these charts. You're going to follow the same procedure for every single one. They're all the mechanism is exactly the same. again, one last just to repeat again, make sure in this section here, which will be to the right of the data you pasted in from your analysis, make sure these formulas are you copy them accurately and into the correct cells. You keep the columns separate from each other. You don't want to copy one column's formula into another because that'll give you inaccurate data. And again, make sure the totals at the very bottom of the data capture the correct set at the top for the year you were looking at. And after you complete that, that should be it for the financing. And again, you're going to check all the relevant charts. You're going to check the charts against what's in the presentation, and make sure you've captured or make sure you've updated all the relevant charts.